Hey there. In this video, I want to go over choosing the right digital signage display for your school or business so you don't have a screen that sits blank for months, can't keep up with your content demands, or it costs thousands of dollars more than it should. After helping over 12,300 different organizations pick the displays that they're running their digital signage on, we know exactly what questions you need to ask yourself before you buy any screen. So in this video, we're going to give you the full breakdown of how to pick the right digital signage display. So let's get into it. Display versus media player. Now, the first thing to look at before comparing displays is the difference between a display and a media player, because that's where most of the buying confusion starts. A display is a screen itself. So this is the TV in your hallway, the monitor in your lobby, the panels mounted in your classroom. A media player is a small computer that's plugged into the monitor that runs the signage software and pulls the content from the cloud. Sometimes they're two separate devices, like a media player plugged into the back of a normal TV. Other times they're combined, like a smart TV or interactive flat panels or commercial all-in-one displays that have that media player built in. And the reason this matters is because product listings often don't make it obvious which is which. A 65-inch display in one listing could be the screen by itself, where another could be a screen with a built-in computer, and the price difference can be hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So before you compare any options, know whether you're shopping for a display or a display plus the media player, or an all-in-one that combines both. The three types of displays. Now that you know the difference, the next thing is which category of these displays you actually want. And there's three of them. The first is a plain TV or commercial monitor with no signage capability built in, where you plug a separate media player into it via HDMI that's going to run the software. This is normally the most flexible option because you can pick any screen size or brand that you want to go with and then pair it with whichever media player fits your content and your budget. It's also usually the cheapest option because most schools already have those TVs or monitors mounted in their building that they can reuse. We worked with Lindbergh Elementary in Kansas City on this exact type of setup. They had displays sitting around that they wanted to modernize, and instead of replacing them, they just paired the displays that they already had with media players to start running content on them. Now, the second category is the all-in-one display, where the media player is built into the screen itself. These are like the smart TVs or the commercial all-in-ones that you get from LG or Philips. The advantage here is fewer parts to manage and faster setup overall. The downside is that the built-in computer in a smart TV isn't all that powerful, so it'll handle a few rotating images and announcements just fine, but it won't be able to keep up with 50 rotating 4K videos. We also offer our own all-in-one AVACOR displays here at Rise Vision. They come in 55 to 98 inches, they're 4K capable, and they have a commercial-grade media player built into them and locked into our platform. York School District 1 in South Carolina is a great example of this setup. They run our AVACOR displays and media players across 10 different schools. And most of their displays went from unboxing to live signage in about 15 minutes, with only 2 hardware issues across 35 media players and 9 displays since it's all been deployed. The third category is the interactive flat panel, which is an all-in-one display with a touchscreen built in and a built-in media player that tends to be more powerful than what you'd find in the typical smart TV. Interactive flat panels are common in classrooms because teachers are already using them for instruction, so between lessons, they can run signage instead of just sitting there blank. Vernon Township School District in New Jersey is a good example of this. They run signage on BenQ interactive flat panels and smart boards across the hallways and classrooms and common areas in multiple schools. Now, if your interactive use case is more of a hallway or lobby kiosk that you're using for a directory or a wayfinding station or a Hall of Fame display, that's a different kind of touch display that's purpose-built for 24/7 public use. We recommend the ELO 4K touch displays for that, which come in 43 to 65 inches and are made for education and commercial spaces. By the way, no matter which setup you pick, you're going to need digital signage software to run your content. That's where Rise Vision comes in, and we'll leave a link in the description to where you can book a free demo. It's our own digital signage platform that's built to work on any display or media player that you go with. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Matching the display to the space. Now, once you've picked a category, the screen still has to fit the room that you're putting it in. So there are 5 quick things to check before you buy one. The first is resolution. For digital signage, you normally want a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is the standard widescreen format. The 2 most common resolutions are 1920 by 1080, which is HD, or 3840 by 2160, which is 4K, and both work great for digital signage. Most TVs sold nowadays run one of those, so if you're buying new, go with HD or 4K so the templates and video content look right on the screen. And if you already own older screens that can't match those exact resolutions, you're still good depending on which signage software you're using. If you're using Rise Vision, it'll automatically resize the content to fit those screens. Now, the second thing that you need to think about is the size of your screen. And what I mean here is you want to make sure to match the screen to the viewing distance. For example, if you have people walking past a screen that's 10 feet away, a 55 or 65 inch is going to work perfect. But if they're standing right next to it, say in a front office, a 43 or a 32 inch is plenty. A screen that's too large for a space gets pretty overwhelming. But if you've got a screen that's too small in a place where there's a lot of people going by, it'll just get ignored. So you don't want to rush this decision. The third thing I want to mention is where the screen actually is. Because indoor displays handle normal lighting and temperature, whereas outdoor displays, they need to be weather resistant and bright enough to compete with the sunlight. For example, Miami Country Day School in Florida, they have displays placed all across their open air campus, including in their student pickup and drop-off lots, which is exactly the kind of setup where the outdoor and brightness specs are most important. Also, a screen going into a busy hallway where students or staff might bump into it, it needs to be more durable than one that's mounted high up in an office lobby. And if you're mounting a display that's somewhere hard to reach, like the top of a gym wall or maybe high up in a cafeteria, you need to plan for that ahead of time, because any repair or replacement down the line, you're going to need a ladder or a scissor lift to access that display. Now, another thing I want to talk about is whether you decide to go with portrait or landscape. Most TVs are designed to sit horizontal, which is landscape. So if you want the screen to be displaying something sideways, like maybe a tall menu board or a vertical announcement panel, you need to check to make sure that that model supports portrait mode before you buy it, because a lot of TVs are not actually built for that. The last thing to check is whether your display is consumer or commercial, but in all honesty, this matters a lot less than people think. A commercial display is built to run non-stop, where a consumer display is designed to be on a few hours at a time. But for most schools, that doesn't matter because the displays are turning off overnight anyway. So as long as you remember to turn off the displays at the end of the day, a consumer TV works just as well as a commercial grade one for digital signage. If you need a media player. So if you went with category 1 from earlier, where you're pairing a regular TV or monitor with a separate device, the media player becomes the second purchase to think about. And there are 4 things that decide which one to pick. The first is how much content you're going to be showing. If you're rotating announcements and a few images, any media player will handle that. But if you're planning on a lot of 4K video, looping in multiple high-resolution presentations, or doing anything else that's going to require more processing power, you need a media player with enough specs to keep up. Cheaper, low-powered media players handle lighter content just fine, but they start to slow down and freeze if you're playing higher resolution content. The second is your operating system preference. Most digital signage platforms work across Windows, Linux, Chrome OS, Android, and Apple. So if your school already uses Chrome or Apple devices for everything, you can pick a media player that matches. Apple TVs, Chrome devices, Windows Mini PCs, and Android-based devices all work fine. The third thing is how easy that media player is to swap out, because both students and employees regularly try to unplug and connect their own devices instead. We hear about it all the time from schools where students plug in their own devices to stream movies or to watch YouTube. It happens in workplaces as well, where employees will unplug the Signage media player to plug in a streaming stick or a game console to that TV instead. So if the screen is going to be in reach of students or employees, you want a media player that's locked to the TV or built right into the display. That way, no one can swap it out for anything and your screens keep on showing your digital signage. Now, last thing I want to talk about is budget. And there are 4 media players that we recommend. The first is our Rise Vision media player, which is a commercial grade device built and locked to our platform with plug-and-play setup, full disk encryption, no open ports, and bulk activation and remote management already built in. The second is the Intel NUC running a Celeron processor, which is a small dedicated PC built for this type of job and tends to last 5 to 7 years on any content type. So it's a budget-strong pick if you have a bigger budget and you want to run your own hardware. The third is the Amazon Signage Stick, which is the one that we recommend on a tighter budget, since Amazon designed it specifically for signage based on the specs from us and other digital signage platforms. And the fourth is the Apple TV, which is a solid pick if your school already uses Apple devices for everything. Just keep in mind that it won't run screen sharing the same way that Android or Windows-based devices will. Now, the 2 things to avoid, no matter what your budget is, are consumer streaming devices that weren't built for signage and older Raspberry Pis. The reason for this is both of them struggle to run larger resolution video the way that a signage app needs them to be able to do. Now, if you just want someone to walk you through what fits in the buildings you already have, you can get a free demo with Rise Vision by just clicking that first link in the description. On that call, we'll go through the hardware that you already own, and we'll show you exactly what your setup would look like with a signage platform installed across all the screens. And we'll tell you which display or media player makes the most sense for whatever rooms or buildings that you're trying to cover. So again, you can get your free demo of Rise Vision by clicking that first link in the description. And if you want to see exactly what it looks like to set up digital signage in your school once you've got your hardware in place, then check out this video next.